Don Lebatard.
You could get the delicious, succulent ham shank or butt portion. They said butt portion. And I thought to myself, I'd eat the butt, but I don't want to know that I'm eating the butt portion.
Stugats.
Is the butt portion a delicacy of some sort?
It very much is. I can testify to this. The cut of meat, when I make pulled pork, slow cook a pork roast to make pulled pork, the cut of meat I use is called the Boston butt. So it's a delicacy. I eat butt all the time.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
This guy might be the most underrated dude in the league. He might be the most underpaid dude in the league.
If he's not, it's his teammate, Thielen.
Yeah. And so I want to ask him, I want to start in the obvious place with Stefon Diggs. He's with us on behalf of Old Spice's Red Collection of Premium Scents. Learn more about the Red Collection at oldspice.com. Which is worse on an award stage, Stefon? Getting up there and hailing Satan after a bunch of gospel songs, getting up there and saying, "Hail Satan," or pretending to wipe your rear end with the award they just gave you? Which
I don't know.
Which is I know, but you got to answer it. I know you don't know. We can't know. It's very difficult, but you got to pick one, and I'm not going to go any further with you until you do.
Probably hailing Satan, I guess.
Okay, yeah, probably. All right, yeah. Give him the game
right.
show. Yes, hooray! Yes, that is correct.
Right answer, right answer.
Yes, that is the correct answer. Can you answer this question for me? Would you agree that Sam Bradford looks like a kid dressed as Sam Bradford for Halloween?
Everybody says that, especially because he wears the large jersey.
Yeah.
Everybody says that his pants look like they don't fit, and his jersey is just it's just like the Halloween costume. You guys are dead on this morning.
All right. Does he look like a frozen FaceTime conversation? He does, right? All right. This one's a tough one, though. Does he look like a guy who, while sitting at the dinner table with his wife and kids, gets a text from his girlfriend saying she's pregnant? Now, I'm not saying he would do that. I'm just saying, does he look like it?
Yes.
I'm not saying he would do that. Just does he look like somebody that would happen to?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I like Diggs, man.
You guys better not make fun of my guy, man. That's my man.
Well, we would never do that.
We're making fun of them, and you're agreeing with
he's your guy. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Do people understand how good you are? Like, I really don't feel like the league understands, or maybe they do this year. Your peers do, but does the country?
I don't know, man. It's one of those situations where, it's a toss-up. I don't really do it too much for them, so I'll never really make that a priority. But, maybe one day, I'm not really worried about it. We just got to work on winning and trying to get to that bowl, man. This year we got pretty close, and, we got high hopes, so maybe next year.
Well, what did that 61-yard touchdown catch to get you into the NFC title game, what did that do for you personally in terms of your brand and just you getting the credit you deserve?
I mean, personally, it's huge, but, more importantly, like my organization and my team, it put us in a position to do some special things. So for them, it went very, very far. But for me, it's done some great things, especially almost giving my mom a heart attack, but she's all good now. She's alive and well.
Wait a minute, what happened there?
What happened
tell us what happened there. Yeah. What happened?
You guys just want all the good stuff, don't you?
Yeah,
I called my mom.
The best.
Yeah.
I called my mom right after the game, and she's talking to me saying, "Oh my gosh, I almost had a heart attack." I said, "Mom, are you okay? The game just got over. I know we won. I know you're excited, but I'm gonna need you to calm down. I'm worried about you." And she said, "Nah, I'm worried about you. What are we doing now? Now bring your butt home." I said, "All right, I'm coming home, Mom."
All right. What were you thinking on the last drive? You thought the game was over, right? You thought it was over, no?
No, I never think the game's over, big guy. Especially before we went out, my coach told us we had 30 seconds to score, and I felt like we had a good chance to get a field goal. I wasn't thinking about scoring. I was trying to, more importantly, just kind of like get in the position to kick a field goal so we can keep playing. But some other things happened, transpired, whereas though, I got an end zone, so I was pretty happy about that.
I got a question for you. When you're meeting somebody who feels like you should know their name, but you don't know their name, what is the phrase that you go to? Like handsome, chief? What is the phrase that you go to when you don't know someone's name?
It all depends. Like if I call you big guy or boss, that's just a safe way.
Yeah, see, because I caught you because you just did it to me, and I trapped you, and I'm happy to do it.
Well, maybe he knows you're big, though.
I'm so sorry, big guy. My bad.
He's with us on behalf of Old Spice's Red Collection of Premium Scents. Learn more about the Red Collection at oldspice.com. Are you slathered in it right now? Are you walking around like the Mall of the Americas slathered in scents?
Yeah, I got it in my hand right now, just in case anybody's asking, anybody wants a whiff, I got it on deck for them.
What a story, Old Spice. I mean, that used to be the old guy's cologne. My father wore Old Spice, and now it's rebranded itself as a hip thing. Amazing.
It's so crazy because
question there?
Everybody knows the red bottle. Everybody knows the red bottle.
That's right. A classic piece of Americana.
Do you have a question? Or you're just giving your opinion? You're just giving your opinion on Old Spice?
This is what Super Bowl week is all about. Greg is just talking deodorant with Stefon Diggs.
Okay.
That's what it's all about.
Stefon and I share an appreciation of Old Spice. We're like brothers in arms here.
All right.
There we go.
So how does this work, Stefon? Like they say to you, Old Spice, hey, here's an amount of money. Go to Radio Row, wander around the Mall of the Americas, and we'll pay you a lot of money.
No, they more so, for my situation, they reached out to my people. I've done stuff with Old Spice before, so this is not my first time. I like working with those guys. And, it's a brand that you're lucky to be with. As you know, Old Spice been around for a very long time, so I'm just lucky to be in a situation representing them, trying to smell good as well.
Stefon, I do a weekend show. We've had Kyle Rudolph on that show many times, and he has told me to keep you out of the kitchen because you have almost burned your house down. Can you share that story with us?
Really?
Oh, yeah. I had it wasn't all the way my fault. Like one of those situations where you left the stove on just a hair and a napkin was kind of close to it. And that's all I'll say about it. But, I can actually cook if you guys want to come over.
Okay, but wait a minute. The burning of the house down. You wandered away from that story. Like, what happened?
I'm not going into detail about that. That's in the past.
Okay.
Can we not talk about the past?
In the past? So it's that 61-yard catch that you made when we talked to you about that.
You had no issues there, man.
That's what we're here about. The good things in the past and the bad things in the past. We leave the bad things back there.
All right. Do you think that Giselle is running the Patriots from her bedroom? Did she trade?
Chance.
Yeah, there is a chance. There is a chance.
We should be looking into this more.
All right, wait a minute. We're playing a game show with Stefon Diggs, and you got to be right with your answer.
It's called Gun to Your Head.
Gun to Your Head is the name of the game show.
Oh, I hate this game.
No, but it's brought to you by Old Spice Red Collection of Premium Scents. Learn more about the Red Collection at oldspice.com. Yes or no, Stefon Diggs of the Minnesota Vikings. Giselle is the reason Garoppolo got traded.
I don't know, man.
No, that's not it. Whoa, you lose. Loser game show sound. Bang! You lose.
What's the single most important thing the Eagles have to do to beat the Patriots? You want to hear that again? Hold on a second. Hold on. What's the single most important thing the Eagles have to do to beat the Patriots?
Get pressure on Tom Brady.
Very good. All right, thank you. Stefon Diggs, ladies and gentlemen. Stefon Diggs.
There we go.
Oh, you stink at the Giselle game. Yes or no? You think she told Tom, look, I know what it's like to be an older supermodel, an aging supermodel. We can't have the young ones around here. Get Garoppolo out of here. And then he did the power thing to Belichick and all that. You agree with that, right?
I can't agree with that. I have no idea what's going on.
All right, very good. Thank you to Stefon Diggs from Old Spice.
Hi, this is Papi. Do you know that my TV show Highly Questionable is not only on ESPN2 every day at 4:30 Eastern? It is also available as a podcast. You can listen or subscribe to the Highly Questionable podcast on ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don Le Batard.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me.
Stugats.
I just enjoy a penthouse view.
Cody just bailed.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
We will stump the Meech here with a variety of Stugats mispronunciations, but I love to talk to John Amici about things that are difficult to talk about.
I'm telling you, the video that went viral on Twitter over the weekend, because you've been offline, was fantastic. And as a father, talking about kids and the parents and the pressure parents put on their kids to play sports and really don't talk to the kids because they're at an age where the kids can't decide for themselves. It was so well said by Meech, and it resonated so much with me.
All right. Well, forgive me for not having heard it. Meech, can you give us, and thank you for being on with us, can you give us those words?
No problem.
Yeah, can you explain it to us?
The potted summary?
Yes. Yeah.
It was essentially it's the idea that sometimes as adults, as parents, we are so passionate about sports that we grew up in. We mythologize our experience in sports. We forget any bad experience and only remember with great acuity the good things that have happened. And as such, we want those great experiences for our kids, but we're so passionate about our sport that we lose objectivity. We pretend that stuff that happens in sport that we kind of, it sets off our spider senses. We have a sense that it's not right. The way that coach is treating that player, the way that administrator is allowing a coach to do whatever they want. We kind of let it go because we believe with all our heart that sport is always good. It always has our kids' best interests at heart. And we forget that sometimes sport just has its own best interests at heart. Sometimes what it's best at is self-preservation, at the expense of the athletes, at the expense of the young people, at the expense of any of the participants.
For those of you who don't know, John Amici is a longtime NBA player. He's a clinical psychologist. He's a leader renowned around the world for helping companies, fix their leadership situations. So the situation at Michigan State, John, you went through this at Penn State. You saw some of this happen. The situation at Michigan State should everyone get swallowed in those flames just because the nature of the crimes?
I don't think everybody should get swallowed in the flames. I do think everybody who has played a part, one of the things I mentioned in the videos that Stuttgart saw is that sometimes people have this purposeful amnesia around incidents, and they let little things go because they think, oh, it's only a small detail. It doesn't really mean anything in the big picture. And then when you look at in history, when you look back, you suddenly realize that some of the things that are in the details that these young women have talked about are so egregious on their own that you can't understand how they happened. I mean, there's a paragraph in one of the evidence-giving elements where a young lady who we know now has been subject to abuse is asked to sign a card for the man who's been suspended for her abuse. And you just wonder how that can possibly happen if the best interest of the young person is at heart. There's a lot of people here at Michigan State, just as at Penn State, who saw stuff and then did that thing where they plugged their ears and looked towards the sky and pretended nothing was happening. They protected the sport. They protected the reputation, supposedly, at the expense of the young people. And people like that should go down with this ship.
Meech, kind of a loaded question here, but I put you in charge of fixing this, preventing that from happening again. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive problem. So people will hate this answer. Part of this is we have to rethink how we look at sport, right? We have to stop mythologizing it, pretending that it's always good. It is not always bad, but what it is an empty vessel. So we have to really scrutinize the people who were involved. And that doesn't mean that the people involved are all abusers or pedophiles, but they are, too often, people who look reasonable, but are willing to let things go, individual things go. We have to create a vigilance here. The same, when I was at Penn State, for example, I got reprimanded by the NCAA for taking coffee from the coach's office. I would walk into the coach's office and just pour myself into one of those big thermos cups before I went to before I went to classes in the morning. The NCAA, we were called up for that. The NCAA compliance officer pulled me into the office and said that this is not allowed and this is a warning. Now, what's amazing to me is if we can have that level of vigilance over supposed cheating, how is it that when somebody does a barehanded pelvic exam on a woman, on a young woman under scholarship, that when she complains about it, they get mansplained essentially that this is fine? If you can catch me taking very bad coffee out of my coach's office, then surely we should be able to check to make sure that women aren't being abused.
Fair enough. John Amici with us on ESPN Radio. Do you believe, as a clinically trained psychologist, do you believe that that pedophilia is a mental illness?
Oh boy, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that people have elements, at least, of the predilection towards certain types of behaviors, including elements of pedophilia, at a very young age, an age that's so young that it can't be explained by pornography or any of the other common ideas. So there is some element of that. That does not mean that because there's some predilection within that person that they are devoid of responsibility. But it does mean that for organizations and institutions, they have an additional responsibility to make sure that they spot sophisticated predators like NASA, like Sandusky.
Meech, is throwing them in prison in general population, is that the right way to deal with?
Or is it the best way? It's the best way? It's the best we've got, because you have to keep this away from the playgrounds, but is it the best way?
You have to keep them away from their victims, potentially, especially when we know that there's some element of this that's probably pre-wired into them. But it's the question is the best way to keep them away from the people to lock them up? Yes. If you're actually trying to solve the problem in the individual, we know prisons aren't there to help people repair their lives. They're there to keep them separate from a mainstream population. So prisons aren't designed, especially nowadays, they aren't designed to try and rehabilitate. So no, you're not going to get rehabilitation out of that situation.
But the reason that I ask you the question is because if this isn't the best way to handle it, maybe it is the best way to handle it, it's the best we've got, it is the worst place to put a pedophile. And maybe the pedophile loses maybe the mental illness person loses all of their rights once there are consequences. But I wonder that people get so angry about these crimes, understandably, and should, that I wonder if the best way to go, Meech, is to just throw it into prison, because you're not actually curing the disease of cancer. You're just cutting out one tumor and putting it in jail, and that makes you feel better, but you're not actually eliminating these crimes.
I mean, we have to distinguish between what the outcome that we're looking for is. If we're looking to remove people from the possibility of hurting others, then prison is an answer. If you're looking at rehabilitation, and frankly I don't think anybody's looking at rehabilitation in this particular scenario, then it's not necessarily the best answer. But at the same time, don't mistake the idea that somebody has some form of innate predilection towards deviant behavior to the fact that they don't have any choice. There is a choice. There is a bridge between mindset and behavior that is in someone's control, however difficult. If anybody else out there, like me, is constantly on trying to lose weight, they know how difficult it can be to bridge that mindset of, I'm going to stay on a diet when faced with pancakes. It's sometimes even that is a bridge too far. So you can imagine for people who have very different, very deviant, very antisocial behaviors that feel innate and programmed, how very difficult that is. But it's hard to have real sympathy there when what we should really be focusing on is the fact that an institution has facilitated a sophisticated predator by their inaction, by their oversight, by their lack of oversight and their lack of vigilance. That's where people's ire should be. That an entire institution that can catch you with a cup of coffee can't catch you when you are doing bad pelvic exams.
All right, we cannot segue gracefully into the lighter stuff that we're going to do with Meech, where we do mispronunciations. So we'll do it without grace this way.
What's the single most important thing the Eagles have to do to beat the Patriots?
That's a really good question, because as you know, I'm very up on my football.
Harder than any we've asked you during this conversation.
It is harder. I just know that what I'm looking for is for Tom Brady to break the 51-year quarterback curse. I want to see if he can become the first quarterback to pull off having the largest number of passing yards and win the Super Bowl.
Okay, that is a terrible answer. Just terrible.
That's all I got.
Analysis. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Don Lebatard. Jordy Nelson had a goose egg. Unbelievable. What are the odds? Money in the bank, that guy normally. Best Nelson since Ricky Nelson in the 60s.
Stugats.
Hands up if you remember Ozzie and Harriet. Put 'em up.
This is the Dan Lebatar Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
All right, so we continue our Super Bowl coverage by talking to John Amici about what's going on at Michigan State, and also, your answer was just terrible. You didn't. I still don't know what the Eagles need to do to beat the Patriots.
Right.
You just gave.
How would I know? All I did was pull up a page.
It's not the point, regardless.
I just pulled up a page and read what I saw.
That wasn't obvious at all.
Yeah, but you didn't read it well. I mean,
all right, let's. He doesn't know much about American football, so let's stump him here. He's Mike. How many do you think he's going to get here? We always go 5 with Meach.
We always go 5. I think he might get 1.
All right. So these are, in order to win, he's got to get 3.
because usually the first one is a softball. So what
That's
Mike
right.
is saying here is he's got no shot after the first one, I
All
think.
right. So here is the first Stugat's mispronunciation.
Fine. We're starting there.
Let's hear it again.
Fine.
That's easy.
Easy.
Fine. Fine. Fine.
I got nothing.
All right. I'm going to nothing. You're quitting on the
Mitch,
first.
Mitch, you got to guess.
Wait
What's
for
it one
it.
more time?
Wait for it.
Fine.
I'm guessing finding.
Fine.
And just a stumble, like you hit a
I
speed
thought
bump.
finding, but I think there's 2 words in there.
I think there
Finding
is.
You
out.
never know. That's one of the conundrums.
Can I guess?
Finding out. Let's go
Yes.
with that.
Yes. Oh,
I
that's
think it's fighting off.
Oh, finding out is
I would
good.
have said fired up.
Sorry, you're all wrong. That's actually finally.
Oh my God.
Fine.
Oh, for the love of
Stugatz,
God.
it's just
For the
terrible.
love of
Just
God,
terrible.
it's just not fair.
Fine.
How is that finally?
No human being can
That's
do
not
this.
right.
That's the easy one.
Okay. Let's go. Number 2 for Stump the Meach.
Total. Oh, I know that one.
I think I do.
Oh,
I know
come
this one.
on.
Not a
I
Mitch.
think
I know this
I
one.
know it too.
Yeah. Total.
Is it possible that
Totally?
Stugatz was trying to say totality?
I think I was trying to say totality.
Meech's guess is totally.
That's close. Judges?
Mitch,
Meech, what's your guess?
final answer.
Let him hear it again.
is-
Let him hear it again.
Total.
See, now I think I hear totality, but I don't believe you've ever used the word totality. Totally?
You should have gone totality.
What a punch in the esophagus right there.
I stand corrected. You have attempted to say totality in the past.
Attempted. You're right, but I still haven't used
Right,
it.
he
Actually.
has attempted and failed. Third option here on Stump the Meach.
Wom.
Oh, for the love of God.
got this
Oh,
one.
my God. That was just a vocal. That was just a. Oh, my.
Wom.
I think I got
See, is that just warm?
I think it might be warm, but it can't be that obvious, can it?
Wait, Meech, is that your guess? Warm.
That's my guess.
Wom.
It is warm.
Nice. Woo,
He's
late
back.
rally.
Back
You'd be
in the
doing
race.
so well right now if you had gotten totality as
Yes.
recommended.
Still in the game, though, Mitch.
Still in the game.
Yep.
Here we go. The fourth money ball for Stugat's mispronunciation.
I did that.
Oh, for the love of God. You got to be kidding me.
I think I know it. I did that.
Wait,
word?
Wait a minute. What?
Let's
Wait
do
a
it.
minute. That is the Emancipation Proclamation.
I did that. I think I know it. I did that.
I almost think there's like 3 words.
Oh, it is
It is,
definitely.
it is
Sure.
3 words.
Three
It
words.
is 3
I think
words.
I know him too,
Oh,
Mitch.
wow.
Yeah. I did that.
I did that.
Close. I think that.
I said that first. Damn it!
I did that. Mitch cares about this game more than
He's
anything.
been so close.
I did that.
All right, so and finally, and this Mike always makes this one impossible. I can't even imagine. Like in the case that if Meach was close, this is where Mike buries him.
Mitch, I'm telling you right now, if you get this, you win the game.
All
Okay.
right, I don't know what this is,
Okay,
but
okay.
yes, you can have this.
You're 1 for 3, but if you
This
get
is-
it, you
no,
win.
yes, this is for everything. You could be 5-0 if you get this.
What?
Oh, for the love of God. Mike, do you have tight end coach back there? Do you have somewhere in there tight end coach? Because I believe the tight end coach was the hardest one we've ever done in the history of this game. We're going to give
I don't know.
we're going to give Meach a moment to gather
All right.
himself.
Yes. Hold on, Mitch.
All right. So
Even when you know what I'm saying, Dan's telling you on the front end,
Right.
it's tight ends coach, you still don't know.
No, this is going to be an impossible one, and I put Mike in a bad position by having him go through the entire library to find tight ends coach. This is how it came out of Stugatz's mouth. So, yes, that's right. That's right. That right there is...
You can hear it, though.
That right there is tight ends coach.
Okay.
All right.
That's changed my mind about this one then. Let's hear it again.
It's a linebacker coach. Taunt him. Taunt him.
That's not helping.
Taunt him.
Is it simpler than that? Is it what if?
It sounds like a song. It sounds like a snap count, too.
Beach, what'd you say?
Is it what if?
Ooh, I'm sorry. That is job.
No, come on. Oh, wait a second. Let's hear that again.
Oh, yeah, that's Joe.
Of course, stuff.
Stugats wants a new boat. Time for some more ads.
Thanks for playing, Meech. Another successful loser you are.
Don Lebatard.
Well, coffee is America's drink. A man is never more a man than when he's got a cup of coffee in his hands. Although I love it when I see a woman drinking coffee.
Stugats.
Coffee means hot coffee. Iced coffee works against the coffee brand. Coffee is hot coffee. It can be black, it can be sweetened, lightened, but coffee is hot coffee, but unquestionably, that's America's drink.
Can't be a frappuccino.
No,
Right,
no,
right.
no.
Does it not go without saying that would be an excellent back in my day if you believe in this so strongly? The idea that coffees have mutated into all of these flavors that are unacceptable to you?
I think I did one of those. One of my most popular ones. Coffee!
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Guys, it is time to look at the next generation in the NHL. Islanders forward Matthew Barzal leads all rookies in assists with 35, total points 51. Also, Canucks forward and NHL All-Star Game MVP Brock Boeser leads all rookies in goals with 24.
Do you pronounce Canucks correctly? Do you pronounce
Canucks. It's the Canucks. Why, it's Canucks? I think it's Canucks, man. You think it's Canucks, clearly. Mm-hmm. Greg, what do you think?
I've always said Canucks, but I think you may be right.
I think it's Canucks.
All right, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is it Canucks or Canucks? I don't know why. Just call it Nucks, N-U-C-K, and N-O-O-C-K-S.
How am I supposed to take your word for it, considering what we just listened to in the previous segment?
I think it's Canucks. Don't you guys think it's Canucks?
It is Canucks. It is Canucks.
Canucks. I'm just telling you, man. Ask Adnan.
Here, I can. You want me to see how it's pronounced? I'll put it in the microphone.
You have it?
You're gonna do the computer generated.
I can do that.
Cool, yeah, you want to do that with your headphones on and speaking into the microphone?
What happened?
Hold on.
Oh, and look, the volume on his computer's not on. Stunning.
This is
Really?
great.
Oh, look, he just interrupted everything. Never mind. He says far away from the microphone.
All
Never
right,
mind.
good.
All right.
But
Excellent
it
work.
says Canucks here. So
Okay.
The next
Thank you.
generation is brought to you by the Home Depot, the next generation of home improvement with everything you need to do projects smarter. The Home Depot, more saving, more doing.
Greg, put your headphones on.
On the
People
air.
are trying to talk to you.
Mike was trying to tell you to not do that.
Are you
Oh,
aware
okay, to not
that
do it.
that's
All right.
as bad as you've ever been? Are you aware that the last 30 seconds are the worst 30 seconds in the history of you?
I was trying to contribute something meaningful to the show, which would have been the true pronunciation of Canuck.
The only
Canuck.
reason all of us aren't already saying it's Canucks is because you agreed with Stugatz ridiculously.
Yeah, I think
no
you
one.
may be right.
Canucks.
So, before we get back to that,
It's an Indian word.
many of you guys, much of our audience, I don't know if many of you are new around here. And so you hear things for the first time that you've never heard before, like Stump the Meech, which we've been doing for 10 years.
Right.
And so I want to get nostalgic every day this week with something that from our past that people may not have heard, may not remember. Can I interest you? Is there imaging for this, or we're just going to go Throwback Tuesday from Super Bowl week? Here's Stugatz arguing with Rick Barry about foul shots.
You shoot foul shots underhanded, so that makes you an expert?
There is no way
that makes you an expert
because you played, can study the game and possibly know as much as I know about the game.
Rick Barry played, and by the way, does a sports radio show, so he knows more than everyone else.
I used to do one and everything, and I always admire guys like Stugatz who had enough guts to be able to argue with him when it came to basketball.
Right.
When you can argue me about any other sport, and I'll take your word; it's just as good as mine.
I never played.
Don't argue me about
but I never played, so I can talk about football, but I never played. Yeah.
Okay, so Stugatz would later, after being berated by his father, apologize to Rick Barry on the way home, but not before arguing with him about Michael Jordan and Kobe.
Rick, come on, I could put
Did he win a championship without Scottie Pippen?
No, he did not, but I could put 70 Pippins with him.
So go to another one.
But I could put 70 Scottie. I could put 70 Pippins with him, and he wins 6 championships.
Wait a second. That's not the point. The point is you're trying to change the parameters. You made a blanket statement that Kobe Bryant has never won it. He's never been the main reason that the team won a championship. And here's the deal.
Rick, I asked
only Michael Jordan, if he never won without Scottie Pippen.
Right.
Name another player.
And how many did Pippen win without him?
Name another player.
Rick, how many did Pippen win without him?
How many did Shaq win without Kobe? One, because he had Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
Okay, who did Pippen have? Nobody. So go on. Name me another one.
But Rick, the question was, do you...
Name another one.
The question was, Rick Barry, do you think Kobe wants to win one and be the main reason? That was the question.
And I said, yes, I think he does. And I already said that.
And because
I'm asking you to give me another person. You are not answering the question. You haven't come up with anybody.
Because you like Kobe so much, you heard it the way you want to hear it.
Listen,
you heard it the way you want to hear it.
You stuck your foot in it. You opened your mouth and stuck your foot in it. Give me another player who was a great player, who was the main responsibility
Rick, it doesn't matter.
Winning a championship without help from somebody else.
Hakeem Olajuwon. It doesn't matter who I give you. You're going to throw someone back in my face. Hakeem Olajuwon. Go, Rick.
Hakeem Olajuwon I would go for.
Who are you going to get? Oh, you're going to go for that. So I got you. So, okay, Mr. Credibility. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Wow. Good God.
I want to say I regret that, but I don't because I'm getting angry all over again. What a gas bag. Sorry, Rick. Dad.
Canucks.
That's what I was trying to do.
Nailed it.
Canucks.
See?
Nice.
Yeah, you were wrong.
Yeah.
Canucks.
What are you celebrating? You agree with me.
Hey,
Canucks.
No, what he's celebrating is the successful getting the computer to pronounce something.
Yes.
He is celebrating the thing that he did while taking his headphones off, not talking to the microphone, dropping his computer, and interrupting our radio show. He is celebrating that Mike Ryan did what he was trying to do correctly.
Yeah.
Canucks.
I just discovered that pronunciation thing, and sometimes I enter in a word like crap.
Why is your timing so bad? Why is your timing so bad? He's trying to feed you. He's trying to make music with you where he plays something after the sounds that you've made.
Right.
Canucks.
So just talk. Just give him some room to work. Talk so he can do that, please.
Yeah, he's a beautiful man.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cody on ESPN Radio.
Canucks.